أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ورضي الله تعالى عن السادة التابعين وعلماء العاملين وأئمة الأربعة المجتهدين ومقلديهم إلى يوم الدين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Alhamdulillah, we are in our ninth class, not ninth, 16th, I believe, 16th class of Risālah lil-Amrād Shāfiyah, which is the letter of healing for social and spiritual diseases, written by none other than Sultān Muhammad Bello, the son of Sheikh Uthman ibn Muhammad, famously known as Dan Fodio, rahimahullah wa taghamadahu lahu bi rahmatihi ameen. Alhamdulillah, we are in the last section of the book dealing with the topic of jihad, which is a sensitive topic because a lot of people have different things in their mind about the word, the concept of jihad. Before we get into it, hey Samira, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam to barakatuh.
Hey, how you doing?
Alhamdulillah.
How you doing? You good?
Wa alaikum salam to barakatuh, everyone. Yes, I'm good.
Alhamdulillah. Wa alaikum salam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Fatima, Ayub, Teresa, Ahmed. Alhamdulillah, I want to ask y'all to share this video, let people know that we're here. Alhamdulillah. Always do that when y'all come through. Please like and share, like and share. I want to mention a few things before we start progressing through and moving towards the end of this book. Motivated by a couple of things. One thing, I was informed that, someone ordered this book in prison and they wouldn't let the book in because of this chapter that we're in right now, Jihad. It's all jihad, or whatever, and they didn't let the book in. So I think this is a good opportunity, a good excuse to talk about this red flag word, this concept, this idea that has gotten even a lot of Muslims locked up and in prison, charged with all types of terrorism-related charges, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think it's a good time and place to talk about that since we end the chapter. Alaikum salam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Sharif and Malika. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it'd be safe to say that if you ask the average non-Muslim in America, what does jihad mean? Would it be safe to say that a lot of them think that Muslims who believe in jihad just think it's all right for just any Muslim to walk up to a non-Muslim and kill him because he's not Muslim? Would that be accurate to think that to say that a lot of non-Muslims think something along those lines, that, okay, you're a Muslim, do you believe in jihad? Right. If you do, that means I'm an infidel and you can kill me, right? Would that be safe to assume that a lot of non-Muslims think that? I need your feedback. Fatima says yes. Malika says they say it's a religious war on them. Teresa says yes. Sharif says yes. Now, so a lot of non-Muslims think that, however they may phrase it, that if you're an advocate for jihad, that they assume that it's okay for any random Muslim or group of Muslims or Muslim government to just go to non-Muslims and kill them. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Sajda. That you're ready to kill. First, I want to mention that a lot of people, and I'm hoping I'm giving you all some ways to deal with this topic and other similar topics when you interact with non-Muslims. First of all, we have to understand that most of the people we talk to, their understanding of religion and our Islamic understanding of religion are two different things. Their understanding of what a religion is and our Islamic understanding, or what our understanding is supposed to be of what a religion is two different things. Number one, to the average person, especially during this time, a religion composes or is comprised of a set of beliefs about the Creator, probably has some notable figures, saints or prophets or whatever. It involves prayer. It involves charity of some sort, or fasting. And maybe some other incidentals here and there, something or things mainly related to spirituality. But that's where the religion stops at. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Hakeem. The Islamic understanding of deen, the word that we translate most of the time into the English word religion, is way more comprehensive than that. Deen is actually a way of life that includes these things that we mentioned: a belief about a creator, the creator, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, belief about the unseen, beliefs about the prophets and messengers, and other related matters. Yes, it deals with prayer. Yes, it deals with charity. Yes, it deals with fasting. Yes, it deals with pilgrimage. But our Islamic religion or way of life, or deen as we say in Arabic, does not stop there. It covers every aspect of life. There's guidance, do's and don'ts about hygiene, personal and public. There's guidance, do's and don'ts about agriculture. There's just some things I'm just randomly picking out of my head. There's guidance, do's and don'ts about business. There's guidance, do's and don'ts about government. There's guidance, do's and don'ts about how you're supposed to treat other people. There's guidance, do's and don'ts about war. There's even guidance, do's and don'ts about slavery. And a million other things that I forgot to mention. Why? Because Islam is a complete way of life. It's not just a religion the way the average person thinks a religion is supposed to be. Prayer, belief, and that's that. Islam is not that. And want to force us to chop down, truncate, summarize the Deen of Islam into their definition of a religion. That ain't gonna happen. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Abdul Bar and Zakaria. So to the most of the people, especially the people in our part of the world we're interacting with, they think, okay, you have government that governs, right? That government don't have no religion. And government allows you or don't allow you to practice or not practice this or that or all or some religions. The government in their mind is over religion. That is the government, the form of government that they're familiar with. A lot of people don't recognize, never heard of too many other forms of government. For example, during the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there was an African king named Abjar ibn Asham. His title was the Negus or An-Najashi. He was the Ethiopian king. He was a king, he was a monarch. His government wasn't a democracy. It was a theocracy. It was a government based upon religion. In that case, the Christian religion. It was a Christian government. They call it a theocracy when the government is based in a religion. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Lisi. This may also help some of you understand why certain things happened during the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because if you know your seerah, your biography of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you know that that king became Muslim, but he kept his Islam secret. He was protecting some of the Sahaba, the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They sought refuge with him, and they were refugees. You know, everybody talking about Afghanistan now, right? And refugees and stuff. Well, some companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam were refugees in Africa. Muslims were being protected by a Christian government headed by a Christian king who happened to become Muslim later on. He kept his Islam secret. And if you go back to read the letter that he wrote back to in response to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, inviting him to Islam, after he affirmed his Islam, he mentioned, he said, I'll present myself to you if you want. But I only have control over myself. That's the context of that statement. Meaning my Islam is secret. Your companions know that I took Shahada, but the people don't know I took Shahada. Malika says, so then what is the purpose or principle of the Taliban? The world associates us with them because they are Muslims and the world thinks we are all extreme. Let me get to that. I'm trying to build up to a point, inshallah. the point that I'm making here, I'm giving you an example of a theocracy, a government that don't claim to be a democracy, a government that's governed by the principles of a religion. And that time it was Christianity. Now, you don't need to be sorry, Malika. I'm getting there, inshallah. So, wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Kenny. So, some people would consider an Islamic government a theocracy. That's what it would be called to non-Muslim scholars. It'd be a government that's governed by Islamic principles that we call a Sharia. And Sharia, like jihad, is one of these words that they've redefined the way they wanted to in order to demonize us. Because the Sharia is just the law that clarifies or explains or codifies the deen, Islam. And it deals with all of these things that we're talking about, that we mentioned before, and hundreds or millions of things that I didn't mention. We mentioned belief, prayer, fasting, charity, hygiene, agriculture, business, government, war, slaves, and a whole bunch of other stuff. The Sharia governs all of that. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Isa. The body of law that governs all of that is called Sharia. So right before class, about a half hour before class, Maghrib came in for me. And so I went to the bathroom and made wudu. That's Sharia. But according to non-Muslims who have been brainwashed, Sharia means cutting off the hand of the thief or stoning to death. In Islam, technically, that's called hudud, or the had punishment, which is the maximum punishment that can be carried out for this or that particular criminal offense. They call that Sharia. They don't call me making wudu Sharia, or me praying Sharia, or, agriculture Sharia. They redefined it. They said, this is barbaric, and this is what Sharia, and this is what they call Sharia. But Sharia is governing all of these things that we mentioned. So it's very important, and our Muslim scholars, whenever they deal with issues, somewhere in the beginning, they're going to define everything. They're going to set definitions. Okay, this means this. This means that. They're going to lay down the parameters of what they're talking about. And as Muslims, we have to understand those definitions and those parameters. And we have to be able to explain these things. Hey, do you Muslim, do you want to bring Sharia here, right? Oh, stop. What do you think Sharia means? Engage them. Sharia, it means that, you want to kill people for fornicating by stoning. And it means if somebody steals, maybe the guy's hungry and he steals. You want to chop off his hand, right? Yes, no. Stop. Somebody lied to you, right? And you can explain all this, but you have to know it to be able to explain it. So we're talking about jihad, right? As some of you indicated in the beginning, a lot of non-Muslims think that jihad means that you as a Muslim can just walk up to somebody, an infidel, a non-Muslim, and kill him because he's non-Muslim. Like we said, since we've been dealing with this chapter, you have many different types of levels of jihad. You have jihad, war, yes, bloodshed, killing, death, jihad, yes, that is a type of jihad. Can I wake up one morning and be like, you know what? Tired of these infidels. I'm going to do a jihad. No, you can't do that. Islam don't work like that, right? Most of us Muslims know that. And the ones who don't know that, a little something wrong up here, right? But the average Muslim knows that, you know what? Allah mentions jihad in the Quran. I believe in the Quran. So I'm going to do jihad. You know what? When I go to work today, I'm going to do jihad against my boss because he cut my overtime last week. No Muslim does that, right? But they actually believe this because they've been given one of our concepts. It's been redefined and then fed to the people as propaganda, so they believe this. So you have the jihad that does involve fighting, war, bloodshed. You have the jihad of speaking the truth in front of oppressive leaders. You have the jihad of clarifying the deen, or especially when corrupt understandings have taken root. And what we mentioned, like jihad al-bayan, we have that. You have the jihad of the nafs, the jihad, the fighting, because jihad literally means fighting, struggling, right? The struggle that you have with yourself to be an upright person, to purify your heart, and all of these things. So jihad, depending on the context, could mean any of those things and some other things I didn't mention or forgot to mention. The context that is mentioning in this book right here is the first type, war, fighting. And don't let other people come and restrict that type of jihad to what they say. Well, jihad is only defensive. No, jihad is not defensive. Jihad is not offensive. Jihad is fi sabilillah, in the way of Allah. Sometimes a jihad fi sabilillah could look to the outsiders as defensive. Sometimes it could look offensive. It's not the point that I'm trying to make here is that not just with this concept, but any concept, when you believe in something or you advocate something, you're about something, don't let somebody from outside come and redefine what you believe in or what you're advocating. No. You make sure, listen, that's what you said. We didn't say that, right? And we have to be able to explain our concepts. I give you an example of what I'm talking about. Haj Malik Shabazz, Malcolm X. Part of each is the ballot or the bullet. And in that speech, one of the things he talked about was Black nationalism. And Malcolm was always very clear. Whenever he used concepts, he defined it. And in that speech, he did it. He defined it. Because at that time, he wasn't the only one talking about Black nationalism. A lot of people was. But what they meant by it and what he meant by it may be two different things. So he defined it. He said Black nationalism only means that you control the economy of your community. Black nationalism only means that you control the education of the community. So you can't say Black nationalism means that you divide yourself from the African. He didn't say that. Maybe the other dude said that, but he didn't say that. So we can't allow people to take our concepts, redefine them for us, and then argue against us based upon their definition that they made up. That's intellectual dishonesty. If you're arguing with somebody or you disagree with somebody, argue or disagree with them based upon what they mean, not what you saying they mean. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Ain't that called gaslighting? Where you reinterpret someone's reality and use that against them? Is that gaslighting? Y'all gotta let me know. This is what they're doing to us, if it is gaslighting. So we have to sit up there until we blue in the face arguing with people that we don't want to kill just the regular honest guy walking down the street, right? The reason why we got to do that is because somebody gaslighted us. And so let's take Islam out of it for a split second. Every or most governments reserve the right to defend themselves and even sometimes go to war offensively to protect and defend their interests. Is that correct? Need your answer. Every government, regardless of what type of government it claims to be, whether it's China, Russia, America, or any other government, they reserve the right to defend and protect their borders, their interests, and whatever else they deem to be important. And they have armies and military for the purpose. I think that's reasonable, right? Regardless of what type of country or what form of governmental system, is common sense. If you have something, you want to protect it. You're a government, that means you're responsible for the citizens that live under your government. So you have to protect them from outside threats. Common sense, right? Nobody would argue that. Whether you're democracy or socialist or whatever you are, right? Nobody will argue that. Well, this book is written by the head of state, Sultan Mohammed Bello. He represents the government. So you see the hypocrisy here. When it comes to Muslims, oh, you Muslims, you jihad, you're going to kill infidels. No. Jihad, Muslims, like any other people who form a government, they reserve the right to protect themselves militarily. It's just, in Islam, we call it jihad. You may call it something else. You call it war. Y'all call jihad holy war. This book, written by the Khalifa, the Sultan, the head of government, to who? Other government officials. This chapter, this section, he's talking about jihad, the need to protect what's precious, the people under our authority, and the deen and the dunya of the people. So if I was sitting in prison and I got someone sent me a book, and this book dealt with, I don't know, World War I or World War II, no one would stop that book from coming through. Why? Because it's about fighting, it's about killing, it's about bloodshed. If I'm an American and I got that book in prison, am I going to walk away from reading that book think, all right, the next German I see, it's on, I'm killing him. Why? World War II. Nobody said that's laughable. You're in prison, right? Hey, yo, you a neo-Nazi? Come to the yard, right? There you go. But you see how Islam, Muslims, jihad, we can't let that book in here. Why? Because they redefine what jihad is. And we have to do our job of clarifying. This is part of Jihad Bayan. We have to clarify to people what things really mean. and how they apply. So we said that obviously our situation, this form of jihad, fighting, killing, we don't live under a Muslim government. You're not an individual. You can't declare jihad, right, on your own, right? So we're going to take the principles of this section dealing with jihad and apply them to the concept of jihadul bayan, the struggle of clarifying the deen and clearing up misconstrued aspects of the deen. We're going to apply those principles there. I know this is kind of a long introduction, but I have to mention it again. It's very important. And plus, as a leader or as a teacher, I know my words are always being listened to and recorded and played back for someone else, right? And as a speaker, you know that people are looking for words to entrap you, right? So every person that speaks knows this, right? So especially when it comes to topics like this, we make extra sure that, we choose our words properly, because there's somebody waiting on the other end somewhere to lock you up and accuse you of trying to overthrow the government or something like that. No. So another point that I want to mention here, it's important that we get back into the habit of thinking. Because a lot of us, because of our education system, because of Wahhabism, whether outright Wahhabism or default Wahhabism, we've been tricked into not thinking. Thinking, using the intellect is almost a sin. And the way we're going to explain Islam to people is by using your intellect, getting people to think. Trust me, being able to think is refreshing. It's liberating. So I'll hold off on that, inshallah. Let me see if I missed any questions that was related to what I mentioned already. Just to go back to what Sister Malika said. So then what is the purpose or principle of the Taliban? The world associates us with them because they are Muslim and the world thinks we are all extreme jihadists. First and foremost, I am nowhere close or nowhere near an expert on the Taliban. What I understand about them is that they were a group of students. That's the word Talib means student. And Taliban, actually in Arabic, is like two students. But a lot of people say like that no Arabic, like that's not plural. Why they use Taliban? What is that? That's not a plural in Arabic. Like Tulab is plural, like Taliban is Farsi. Right? But in any case, right? I'm not an expert on them, but from what I understand, they are, you said, what is the purpose or principle? They're the government. There was the government at one time before. It appears that they're the government now, and they happen to be Muslim. And they're governing, or they're supposed to be governing according to their understanding of Islamic, according to the Sharia. Everything that they, like I said, I'm not an expert on the Taliban, so I can't tell you everything that they did or didn't do. I can't tell you what part is propaganda and what part is not propaganda, what they really did that was bad or what they really did that was good or what's been put away. I can't tell you that. I don't know. I'm not an expert on that, right? But your question reminded me of the one point, that the reason why I brought up thinking. It's extremely important that we learn our Fard Ain. We learn the basics of our deen. because a lot of us, when I say us, I mean Western Muslims now. I'm not even talking about Black or African American Muslims, just Muslims raised in the West, whether that be America or someplace else, Europe, right? A lot of us, we don't learn our fard ayn. We don't learn our basics. So someone may be like, well, all of these things that Allah and His Messenger and the scholars have said about jihad, I want to go do jihad, right? But you don't know your basics, right? The things that you're supposed to have learned already since puberty, you don't know that. So you go jump and join a group like decades ago, Al Qaeda, or you join a group like ISIS, thinking and people have done it. I'm not making it up, thinking that, I'm doing jihad. Not only you not doing jihad, these groups were made up by non-Muslims, right? So you actually are cannon fodder. You're actually someone else's, what you call it? I can't think of the word right now. You actually been psychologically manipulated into doing what you thought was jihad, but you're pushing non-Muslim interests. That's deep if you think about it. Because if we learn our basics, we'll be able to see them booby traps real far away. Because a lot of times a group will pop up, they'll declare jihad, and they'll, put a call out in, and like a lot of times we don't have common sense, right? We sitting in America, we got Verizon, Comcast, AT&T. We in the Western world. We supposed to have the best of internet connections. But this cat could be in a cave someplace and make a whole video and they get around the world and they can't stop it, right? The little common sense stuff like that, we just fly right over our head, right? Like, oh, you heard him. He made the call out. Look at his turban. Oh, man, we got to go for jihad, right? How that dude get better internet connection than you? I remember when dude was sending all these videos supposedly from this cave, right? These 15, 20-minute videos. I'm sitting there, I can't upload a 5-minute video, and I'm in America. How you send these videos and you in a cave, right? And so we have to begin to think. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm sorry, Samira. Go ahead. Bismillah. Let's get into the text.
Bismillah. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa alihi wa sahbihi wa salama tasliman. Alhamdulillahi wa kafa wa salamu ala ibadihi alladhina istafa. Amma ba'd. Thus, we're on page 68 of the Risālah lil-Amrād Shāfiyah, a letter of healing for spiritual and social diseases. Thus, there are many verses which deal with this subject. And the last verse that we read was Surah As-Saf, 61, verses 10 through 13. It has been related by Al-Bukhari and Muslim on the authority of Abu Huraira, may Allah be pleased with him, who said, the Messenger of Allah, may Allah bless him and grant him peace, was asked, which action is the best? He said, belief in Allah and His Messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It was said, then what? He replied, struggle, jihad, in the way of Allah. It was said, then what? He replied, a hajj, which is accepted.
Alhamdulillah. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Sister Fatima. Alhamdulillah. I just want to mention, like our sister said, we started on page 68. If you look above that, if you remember last Thursday, I said there was a typo in the English. And so remember, this is verse 61. chapter number 61, verse 10 and 13. Go to your Quran. If you're reading the book along with us, go to your Quran and correct your English translation. Number one, it should say, "Oh, you who believe," before it says, "Shall I guide you?" And then the next ayah, it says, "It is that you believe," and then it says, "in the way of Allah." It shouldn't say that. It should say, "Is that you believe in Allah and in His Messenger, and that you struggle in the way of Allah with your wealth and yourself." We talked about that last week. So now the author is getting into hadith that encourage to do jihad. So all of what was mentioned before was the Quran. Now he's going to mention hadith which encourage the jihad. Was the same with Osama bin Laden. They did the same thing. Yeah, that's what I was referring to, right? You in a cave sending all these videos, and if I tried to send a video the same length, for my Comcast, I'd be sitting there all day, file too large. But you in a cave somewhere, and I didn't send these videos out, right? Just getting everybody set up. You dumb enough to download his video to your computer, and then you get raided and they search your laptop, his video or your computer. Now you get locked up, right? We gotta learn how to think. Do Shifat and Shafiyah have the same root word? Yes. Muslims need to stop relying on media to report on Muslims. Last time I checked, the West, USA, Europe, etc., barely tolerate Muslims in their own country. I agree. Plus, we have social media now. There's people on the ground that can tell us what's really going on. We don't need to pay no attention to them. Muslims need to take information from reliable sources and just make dua. Allah's in control. Only in time will we really know what's going on exactly. No, I didn't mention Osama bin Laden by name, but that's who I was talking about in the cave sending videos. Some people even said he was dead a long time before that. I don't know, right? I find it hard to believe they really deeply, sincerely care about helpless women and children. The media has its own agenda and always will have it, and that is to make Islam look bad. I agree. There's actually a meme floating around on Facebook. It has a picture of a Muslim woman, and it says, they really care about us Muslim women and children so much that they kill our uncles, fathers, brothers, and everything. Wow, so much love, or something like that it says. I noticed with this latest Afghan thing, I'm sure I saw some of the pictures before. So alhamdulillah. So the first hadith, and that's always, it's extremely important when you're dealing with any subject, any scholar worth anything, he's going to mention what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions first, and then he's going to mention what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned. And going back to the last point that I was making before we actually started reading this text, the deep thing, like, you'll be surprised how many of us don't think. I remember back when I was living in New York, and the whole Wahhabi thing was exploding on the East Coast. They call themselves Salafi, right? Was exploding on the East Coast. And I remember, having debates with a few of them. So, you know, like, what's your dalil, right? They would say the wildest stuff, like, okay, where you get, what's your proof for all that? And more than one occasion, the brother would mention a verse from the Quran that has absolutely nothing whatsoever to do with what we're talking about. Have you ever had that happen to you? You debating somebody on an issue, and they bring you a proof, and the proof is not even remotely connected to what y'all talking about. And I'm like, wait a minute. What this ayah got to do with we talking about? See, it says here, and this, like, hey, brother, you slow or something, man? What's wrong with you, man? This ain't got nothing to do with what we talking about. Have you read the tafsir? Right? So we have to get back to thinking. Okay, anyway, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, was asked, Ayu amalu afdal, which action is the best? Qala imanu billah wa rasulihi. Belief in Allah and His Messenger. And see, this is, again, Islam is not a spectator sport. When you go to our books of creed, Iman, our faith, is manifested in our hearts, our tongues, and our actions, not just in our hearts. It's mentioned in the Risālah of Ibn Abi Zayd in the beginning, in the Aqidah section, that belief is an expression on the tongue, a belief in the heart, and actions from the limbs. Wa alaikum salam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, my good brother Lawrence Bickerstaff. I'll be like, I know who you are. I'm just messing with you. So you might say, how is belief in Allah and His Messenger action? Because it's a belief in the heart, yes. But it also requires proper statements from the tongue. In the same way, when we became Muslim, the way we manifested that is we said with our tongue the Shahada. And just like we said that with the proper understanding and it brought us into Islam, we can say something that will take us right out of Islam. Have to be very careful. A lot of us are real loose with the tongue. We say stuff about Allah that's crazy. Take us right out of Islam, depending on what it is. And there's also action on the limbs. You know, after the basis, the foundation, the usul of our faith, right? You have what's called the completion of faith. That's why the statement faith increases and decreases is not talking about those 6 articles of faith: belief in Allah, belief in the angels, belief in the books, belief in the prophets, belief in the hereafter, and belief in Allah's divine decrees, good and is bad, right? That don't go up and go down. It's what comes after that. What you build on top of that. The hilawatul iman, the sweetness of faith, right? That goes up and down. And it goes up and down based upon our actions or lack thereof. So then he said, then what? Then he said, jihad fi sabilillah, fighting or struggling in the way of Allah. And as we said, how are we applying this? His context, in this book, for his time, in his place, fighting, defending the Khilafat, sending out armies at least every year. That's what it meant for him. What it mean for us? Struggling, making sure we play our part and making sure that the deen is understood correctly, that people aren't misinterpreting the deen and calling it Islam. Like, for example, saying Allah is in the heavens, right? Our God is not inside a place. Heavens is a place. Heavens was created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah's not in it, and He's not on it. Allah is outside of a place. Allahu mawjud bila makan. Allah exists without a place. Allah created all places. How is Allah going to be in a place that He created? Right? And that's just one example. We go on and on and on. I spent the first 40 minutes talking about misunderstandings about Islam, like the words jihad and the word sharia, right? We have to know it in order for us to correct it. And you or I may not be the teacher or the spokesperson or this or that, but there's a role in this army that we can play, this army of clarifying the deen and straightening out misconceptions about the deen of Islam that we can play, right? And then he said, then what? And he said, aha, which is accepted. You can continue, inshallah. I love you too, my brother. Alhamdulillah.
Bismillah. Imam Ahmed related by the men of his chain of authority from men of veracity on the authority of Azza, may Allah be pleased with him, from the Prophet, may Allah bless him and grant him peace. The Prophet, may Allah bless him, peace, was asked, which act is the best? He replied, belief in Allah and his oneness, then struggle, jihad, then an acceptable hajj. It excels other actions like what is between day and night. Continue?
Yes, you can continue.
There have been related strong threats against those wish to turn away from the struggle. For Allah, the Exalted, says, say, if your fathers, your children, your brothers, your wives, your relatives, the wealth which you have earned, and the slackness of trade which you fear, and homes which you love, is dearer to you than Allah and his Messenger, ﷺ, and struggle, jihad, in his way, then wait until Allah brings about his command. For Allah does not guide a people who are corrupt. Fasiqeen.
I want to stop right there because the remainder of this chapter is dealing with the threat of not being engaged in jihad. See, everything that we mentioned before was an encouragement to do jihad. Everything that's mentioned from here on out is a threat for neglecting jihad. And we're going to come back. We're going to start again tomorrow by reading this part right here, right? But like, I don't know about your young people, but when I grew up, right? Say you beefing with somebody, right? If they stupid enough, if you got the drop on them and they stupid enough to be like, all right, wait till I get back, and you let them go, that's your fault, right? That's your, somebody say, wait till you come back. Nah, we can do this right now. Nah, you ain't going nowhere, right? Wait till you come back. That's a threat. Like when I was growing up, the movie The Terminator. Remember the Terminator, Arnold Schwarzenegger? He went to the police station and he asked for Sarah Connor. Sarah Connor here. She's like, you're going to have to wait. He looked around. I'll be back. How did he come back? He drove the car through the front door. That's how he came back. Right? Then wait. Right? So that's a threat that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is issuing. Say, if your fathers, your children, your brothers, your wives, your relatives, the wealth which you have earned, the decrease in your trade that you fear, you worry about your money ain't gonna be right, and the homes which you love, your house that you living in. If all that is dearer to you than Allah and his messenger and struggling in his way, then wait. Then wait. That's a threat. Until Allah brings about his command. For Allah does not guide a fasiqeen, or corrupt evil people. And again, that's Surah Tawbah, which is chapter number 9, verse number 24. So that's a threat, and we should take that seriously. We should take that seriously. We have to be involved in the struggle. Islam is not a spectator sport. If you watch that video that went viral in Pittsburgh, right? Heinz Field, Steelers game, even spectators get violent, right? That white girl hit that black dude, right? Right? Even spectators not spectating anymore, right? But Islam is not a spectator sport. You have to be playing your role. You have to be playing your job. You have to be playing your part. Ask yourself, again, like we asked last Thursday, what role are you and I playing in this war of clarifying the deen? We should all, first and foremost, be involved in learning the deen, right? In order to clarify something or teach or correct something, you first have to know it first. Wa alaikum salam rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, my sister Mariam Booker. Alhamdulillah. So I said we're going to stop there, inshallah, because and we're going to finish that chapter tomorrow. This chapter tomorrow, inshallah. Does anybody have any comments or questions? Learn, practice, teach. 3, 4, 5, 3. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Adil, Kwame. Learn, practice, teach. A lot of us don't practice. A lot of us don't teach. And you got Amal is part of number 5. So some of us, we 3, 4, 4, 1. We not, they refer like they 3, 4, 5, 3. They 3, 4, 4, 1. What book do you learn the Maliki fiqh of wudu and salat in? Any or all of them. All of the basic books deal with them. Like we did the Akhdari here, when we the last time we did a fiqh book, that was this year. We did the Akhdari. You have the Ashmawiyah, which is another basic primary level book that we intend on getting to soon. Maybe not, maybe at the end of the year or maybe at the beginning of 2022. You have Umdatu Bayan that I plan on doing after another book. That's a Maliki fiqh book and it teaches wudu. All of the basic Maliki fiqh texts teach wudu. And a good thing to know, even though, we're basing our classes in the book, usually when we teach these things, there's always a demonstration. Like we actually do the wudu. You watch the teacher make wudu and the teacher watches you make wudu and can clarify and fine tune your wudu. Maybe next time we do the fiqh, we should do that, inshallah. Do all the madhabs differ in how they do wudu? I don't think so. There may be some peripheral issues that differ, that are different wudu slightly, but I wouldn't know. I'm not one of those guys who claim to be well-rounded in all the madhabs. So if you hear me talking about something in fiqh, just assume it's the Maliki school. Are you going to inbox Samira? If you want to get into the basics of the Maliki fiqh now, you can go on our YouTube channel. It's all in the playlist. It's organized. Look at the Akhdari. That's the first book that you will usually learn in Maliki fiqh, and we covered that book. But we're going back to it again, inshallah. And if you're wondering why I'm sweating, it's because I closed all the windows right before Maghrib came in because of Susula. Samira, what's Susula?
Them thugged out mosquitoes.
All them thugged out gangster mosquitoes, man. Right? But they somehow get in here anyway. But I closed the window. And I got the fan on, but with the window open, the air circulating, it feels better. So I'd rather sit here and sweat it out than deal with these gangster Susula. Them dudes is thugs, man. Is putting the heavens in a place wrong? Or do you mean putting Allah in the heavens? I don't understand your question, Kwame. Mosquitoes gave me malaria in Nigeria. You know, most of the times I come here to Gambia, I get, the last time I came, it didn't happen, but every other time I came, I got a little sick. When I say a little sick, what we in America may say, you got the cold or you got a flu or something like that. The way we get a cold and a flu, here in Gambia, it's malaria, right? You don't even go to the doctor. Well, you got fever, you feeling kind of weak, you get malaria, right? This is malaria, just automatically malaria, right? So, no, this time when I got sick, it was like malaria. I don't know, but now I'm kind of like leaning towards it. Well, maybe I did have malaria, right? And maybe all the other times I came here and got sick, because maybe it was malaria. I just thought it was my body adjusting to the climate and you know, eating less processed food and all that stuff. I just thought my body adjusting, but maybe it could have been malaria because of the mosquitoes. Like my wife is always like, "Why don't you go to the doctor?" For what? I'm not going to the doctor. They're gonna do give me some medicine? No, it ain't gonna go away. We just have to sweat it out and deal with it. So I don't like go to the doctor like that unless I feel like I have to. Yep, that's Muqtasar Akhtari. Man, I gotta ask them. There's these big bugs. I don't know what they are. They don't come every night either. But they got these gigantic wings on them. I gotta ask what they are, right? But the mosquitoes seem normal. They just more aggressive. I don't know about y'all, but in America, I remember when I was younger having to deal with mosquitoes. But as an adult, I don't remember. I don't deal with mosquitoes too much in America no more. It's like I don't know. It's like I don't know. Maybe they made Hydra. Maybe they said America is Darul Kufr. They made Hydra. Yeah, they're Africa. It's like we gonna see you when you come. You got America, but when you come to Africa, we gonna see you. I don't know. Mosquitoes don't bother me that much in America. I can't remember the last time I got a mosquito bite in America, to be honest with you. But as a child, I remember mosquitoes was normal. The same way that I'm dealing with mosquitoes in Gambia here now is the way I remember dealing with mosquitoes in America when I was a child. So I don't know. Kwame, you're going to have to type your question, the whole thing again, because I still don't know what you're trying to say. Cockroaches with wings, they are big. I don't know. But they got cockroaches here. Yeah, I think I have to agree with Imam Amin. You know, Boko Haram gave you the malaria. The Wahhabis gave you malaria over there in Nigeria. Because they are a sickness. You thought it was malaria, it was just the Wahhabi fitna, the Wahhabi sickness. I actually remember the first time I came to Africa, right? And you know, anytime you go to Africa, they make you think like, you know, it's like you're gonna get something you real bad, yellow fever, pink fever, gray fever. You know, you got to get these shots, and you got to get them. You know, 3 months before you come as a regimen. You gotta get all of this stuff right. And I remember, like, you know, I was like, man, I ain't doing all that, man, right? At the time, I was broke too, so they was charging like I forgot how many hundreds of dollars for one shot or one pill. I'm like, oh, I'm going, so and I'm broke, and so hey, so I guess we won't find out if I got it right. So what the brother he paid all this money, he got the malaria shot or pill, I forget which one it was, and when we get to Africa, right, one of the brothers we met up there was like. Oh, well, you got how much you pay for, right? And he put out a little plastic bag, right? Like, pretend this is a plastic bag, right? It was bigger than this, right? And he said, man, you could have waited till you got over here. We got a whole bunch of pills in here, right? And the deep thing about it is, I didn't get malaria, but the brother who took the medicine before he left, he got malaria. Hold on, my battery's dying. There you go. Mariam Booker, they did Rukia on me and gave me those pills that Trump was pushing to treat COVID. Subhanallah. Ginger, turmeric, sea moss, black seed, among other things, should be a part of our daily intake. And a lot of water. Please take care of it. Of course, inshallah. The flies in Yemen drive me crazy. They're all over the place. Oh, same thing here. Oh my God. And you know the deep thing about it? The people that live in these places, like Yemen and different countries in Africa, you could be sitting with them. They can literally, I seen it before, a fly land on their eyelid. They chilling. We be like, and they just sitting there, fly on their head, fly on their ear, fly on their eyelid, and they just chilling. Ah, subhanallah. A lot of y'all couldn't take it over here. Some of y'all, some of us are too Western out, right? You go to see the average person that's selling meat. So they got the, the carcass, the meat that they selling, hanging up. I remember one time I walked and this guy was a butcher, he was selling meat. The whole thing was black. And I'm like, what kind of meat is that? And he brushed it and all the flies left from it. And then it was red. I said, subhanAllah, the whole thing was covered with flies. So there's flies everywhere. Alhamdulillah. MashaAllah. Any more questions? Imam Amin, you doing post-hostile reflections today? Samira, you have anything? Samira, you have anything?
Nope.
Alhamdulillah. So tomorrow, inshallah, it is our intent to finish out this chapter on jihad. And like we said, the rest of the chapter is talking about the threat from Allah and His Messenger for abandoning it, and the outcome for not upholding it. Alhamdulillah. And then the conclusion is very short. And then, so my intention is when we finish this book to actually do some black lessons. If you remember before, I did some black lessons. If you're not familiar with that, go to our YouTube channel, look at the playlist, the black lessons. I plan on doing that. And then I have a surprise for you, another book that we're going to do. Samira knows what it is. And then, inshallah, my intention is to do Umdatul Bayan after that. Alhamdulillah, may Allah reward all of you and bless all of you and reward you for your engagement and participation in the dialogue. You know, it really helps me out because I'm more of an engaging person when I teach. And so teaching, looking at a screen is really not natural for me. So when you engage, you help me forget that I'm talking to a screen, and you kind of like make me feel kind of like I'm in a masjid and we all sitting there, even though I can't see your faces. So it really helps out a lot when y'all engage. May Allah reward y'all. Let's recite Al-Fatiha for the soul of Sultan Muhammad Bello. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت واستغفرك وأتوب إليك والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.